All right, so this workshop, and we only have one attendant right now, so you'll come back and we'll have 10 people on who are watching. It's awesome. It's the biggest one yet. So there's 10 of them. I'm going to do for now, and then 2 in a second here. Of a critical analysis. To my mind, this is probably one of the more important workshops because it's something that you do in each of the project for the major project, each module. So for our purposes, this is part of the genre, you know, goes with the summaries and other workshops, but summary and critical analysis really go hand in hand. So for our purposes, just a quick overview. Have you attended the summary workshop or watched any of those? Okay. So you've no doubt written 6 summaries by now, though, right? How'd that go?
I think they're all pretty good.
Okay, so it's good to feel that way about our writing, right? So like what we're doing. So summary is the first step to analysis, and so the summary workshop really goes hand in hand with this. I won't call on too much from that, but the idea of being able to reduce something into its parts, what's, how's, descriptions like that, to get to the idea of analysis. So the parts of a text. This is the easiest thing for us to do as readers, but we always skip this step because we're too smart, we're too fast. So taking things apart, just listing their features, right? So your laptop right there has several parts to it. Has, I don't know how many keys are on that keyboard, I guess 108 keys, something in that way. An LCD, an LED screen, a CPU, a motherboard. You're breaking down all the parts, right? It's an inventory. Those are things. Same thing with the Rockstar energy drink. It probably has, although we only see 2, really 3 parts. The bottle shape, the pop top, and then also the thing they put on to close it. So you can break it down. Everything can be broken down. That's how text works in general, right? So if you're watching the PowerPoint online, you're seeing this image now on the workshop summary slide, and it's of these, well, I don't really want to say what it's of yet. That kind of skips the step. It jumps the shark, as it were. When we do summary, we want to take a moment to just break things down in terms of listing them. So if I ask you, Joseph, and I'll help you out here, to make a list of the parts of this text, could you? Could you explain what this text is made of? Not tell me what it means, not tell me what you think, makes you feel, but what are the parts of the thing inside of that box?
People.
Okay, we get maybe a man and woman, right? So this is a good question, right? So we get elements of it, right? We get a man figure, woman figure. How did you know that?
The attire.
Yeah, so they get suit parts, right? So if you're looking at this picture, you see this black suit with a black cravat or tie, and then what appears to be, I'm imagining a woman's bare shoulders in a dress. So we kind of get the idea of man and woman. Do we know they're man and woman? Do we see their faces, their figures? No, we really don't know that about them yet. Or do we ever? What else besides the 2 characters? And Keelan, you can find into.
Kind of ominous sky.
Ominous sky. So maybe these are clouds, maybe it's a darkness behind them, a shadow cast on them. Yeah, I agree. Anything else?
Is this just physical observation?
Yeah, just inventory of the features you see there. Not meaning, not interpretation, not value. That's the easy part, right? This is the hard part, making a list of the things that make us think that about it.
Their faces are covered.
Okay, so faces, if there are faces there at all, right? Are they really humans? Are they mannequins? We can get all these really weird ideas out there. But yeah, we want them to be people because we're humans and we like seeing other people fully combobulated. The second step, once we get through making a list of features, and ideally you're making a list of things. You're writing this down. People don't like making notes, but notes really help us to see patterns. That's why when I give you that appendix to work in, if you're in ES 1143, you have all this data to fill out this worksheet. Or if you're in 1101, you're writing questions, you're answering questions to get all this data or evidence of something to get at. The analysis, that's just a Greek word meaning to break something down and give meaning to it. Lysis, you see this in chemistry all the time, something that's a lytical agent. It breaks things apart, it separates them. So what we just did there was kind of a guided practice of this. We can go through these facts, and I kind of put some notes together. So if you're watching on this slide, you see this idea of, we know the artist, it's Rene Magritte. It was painted somewhere in 1928, give or take, or at least put out around then. It's called Les Amants, the lovers in French, right? What we don't know, and I'll tell you, it's part of a 4-part series of 2 people with bags over their heads in this style with different backgrounds, 4 different tableaux, right? And so that's all we really know. When you look at a picture on a frame, right, what do you see? You see usually the picture and a title below it, and maybe the author's name or the artist's name. And in the meaning aspect of it, that's incumbent on us to kind of locate within the text, to find some sort of idea of how to read the text. And so I always start with summary, and just, Joe, you got into this idea. So elements, we have 2 figures, one in a suit, perhaps a man. We don't know it's a man. That's part of our assumption that the thing is making us do. Do we see a man? We agree that we don't necessarily see a man yet. Same thing with the woman. A dress, perhaps? Do we see the whole thing of it? Does it have to be a dress? Could it be another masculine figure? We don't know. There's not enough really for us to do, but our brains do a lot of filling in the work. I think you savvily pointed out the background. Specific background, dark clouds, kind of ominous feeling, dark. You might even say mysterious. Kind of complicates another element we could talk about, right? Keep on going here. They have a cloth or sack over their heads. And remember, all we're doing here is making a list of things we see. That's inventory, that's summarizing. So when you read Poe's essay on philosophy and composition, when you read G's essay on what is discourse analysis, all you're doing when you take those rhetorical notes and ask questions. Who wrote this? When did that person write it? What's it about? How's it broken down? What are its parts? What are the key words? Inventory. So we're always doing this as readers. When you get dressed in the morning, you figure out what clothes you're going to wear. You probably do a mental inventory. What kinds of things am I going to wear? Probably a bottom, probably a top, and probably shoes. Although at UNF, not everyone wears shoes, I think. Sometimes people walk around barefoot. But the idea is that, well, we have geese and a lot of geese droppings, so probably not a good idea. But the idea is you're always breaking things apart to make meaning out of them. So the second step is the hard part, because this is the part we always skip. When we read things, we make them mean things to us without asking, how did we make meaning? Our neurons attach and fire so quickly that it's really difficult for us to really see how things work. So I've asked 4 general questions here. You could ask about anything. The Mona Lisa, the design in this classroom, that painting behind your head, Joe. What does it mean? How does it mean that? What patterns or symbols emerge there? What's the general feeling of that, right? Of that thing. And so we can look at it again, the same image of the lovers. What a weird title for something with 2 figures with bags over their heads. Do you feel like this is the painting of 2 lovers? If I asked you to draw 2 lovers, would you draw 2 lovers with cloth sacks over their heads as they embrace?
That goes back to meaning, though.
Now we get to meaning, right? But I'm just asking in general. If you have something called the lovers, and you're imagining in your head what that's going to be a picture of, would you imagine 2 individuals embracing with sacks, cloths over their heads?
It just makes you imagine it in more like a negative context.
So now we get to connotation, not denotation, right? So denotation is a simple aspect of what is it? So sure, something that covers the top of your body, right? Doesn't mean what kind of shirt it is, it just has that idea. But if I say connotation, what kind of people wear a shirt, or what kind of events do you wear shirts? You say, oh, casual. You start getting into specific aspects of it, right? So dark clouds behind them, that might mean rain. How do you read the clouds here? You said ominous, I like that.
I mean, stormy, but when you attach meaning to, maybe it's putting like a word, like a forbidden love, you know.
Ooh, so it adds an element of forbidden love. So there are no words here, you'd agree, Joe and Keelan, that say, this is a picture of forbidden love. Something is happening there that your eyes are reading to get to that conclusion. It's like algebra. And all we're trying to do is find out what X is here that you did with that thing to get it to mean. Because that you agree, that's not moving, that's not active, it's not doing things. It's a static image on the board. I think it's over in New York MoMA, and you can go see it if you want to in New York. But the point here is, it doesn't do anything. You do the meaning of it in your mind. So if I ask you 2 to write down what it means to you, and if I ask the other 11 of you watching what it means to you, no doubt you'd write 12 different things. How does one image mean 12 different things? It's just one image, right? There's so many elements and aspects. Think about this. There's shape, there's color, there's shadow, there's clothing, there's character, there's space, there's arrangement, right? All these elements that add up very quietly, understatedly, to perform something for you. And when we start looking at inventory, we can do that. We can look at the features. Why is the color of the wall red or off red and not gray or blue or pink? What does it accomplish by being that color? What does the black cloud behind them do for you? You say ominous, bad, rain. How about mystery? What happens in the shadows? How does hiding their faces do anything for this? Do you think of anything when you see 2 people with bags over their heads? That's a hard sentence to say out loud. Sorry. Do you think of anything when you think about people with bags over their heads? Is it love usually? What do you think about? Crime. Shame. That's fascinating, right? To be covered, to be hidden. Either way, right? You've been kidnapped for ransom, or you're hiding yourself, right? If you're a Jaguars fan, you wear brown bags to football games. Same idea, right? To hide your face. So there's an element of hiddenness, of mystery. We don't get to see whose face is. Does he have a mustache? Is he a he? Is it two women, one in drag, one in women's clothes? We don't know. So we can analyze this for meaning. Maybe it's a forbidden love, and the viewers don't get to know who the audience is. But now we're getting to meaning, right? How does this thing add up to mean? And we could talk about meaning all we want all day long, but really all we're doing is getting to this idea of an argument. You would agree that when we look at this picture, we can argue all we want all day long about it. I like the idea of going between ransom and shame, though. That argument right there is going to be fascinating. So for our purposes, though, no matter what you're doing in a project paper, you're likely forwarding a claim, a thesis about something, some sort of hypothesis you have about what's going on here. If you're in 1101, you're arguing about someone's discourse community and how that affects the person. If you're in 1143, you're arguing how this thing actually works inside of your class, how it affected you or affects you or will have affected you in the future, right? So are those things factual? Do you know for sure how discourse community has shaped your interviewee? Do you know, Keelan, for example, how this class has affected you factually, scientifically, to the atomic level? We guess, right? We use words to approximate. That's the claim here. So the ultimate moment here is you're arguing in a sentence. What do you think that picture means? And you can start with, I think that picture means this. That's an analytic claim because we can disagree with it. And it's built upon your taking the thing apart. You know, based on the color spectrum, based on the hoods over the heads, I think this painting means this. It's mathematical, right? It's algebraic. It's not just because, oh, you know, the muse struck, and to me it's love. It doesn't work that way, right? There's a logic here that you're trying to expose. There's a structure, deep structure embedded in this that's operating. So when we analyze things, we take them apart to look for meaning. Meaning isn't already there. We're the ones who find the meaning. So when you get to this final slide, and if you're watching this from home, you can just click to the end now. There are two columns. Joe, obviously you're in one, and Keelan, you're in the other one here. All I want you to do is think about answering these 5 questions. So take a minute, and I want you to answer these 5 questions, 6 questions if you're 1143, about your final project. Because what you're trying to do is get to the idea of a claim. If you've already written your paper, your draft for last Thursday, right, for peer reviews, you already have a thesis in mind. So that's probably the first question's answer for you. What's the observation you're making about your peer, the one you've interviewed, and his or her DC? Or what did you learn about yourself in this class? So go ahead and take about 3 minutes and write that down. And if you have questions online, I'll try to answer them here inside of the YouTube channel. So Lisa asks, does an analytical claim have to be factual? Well, no, right? Based on fact, perhaps, but not factual, because remember, it's a claim. As you know, I could say the sky is blue. That's kind of factual, right? I think the sky is blue. I think it's more of a chartreuse. I think it's green. Claims tend to be things you can argue over. So they're based in facts, but the conclusions about the facts aren't necessarily factual. They're disputable.
Yeah, the school was perfect. It was perfectly organized. Yeah, it was. So it was a.
And as you answer these 5 or 6 questions, you'll start seeing that these are pretty much the way your paper breaks down to some degree. A lot of the thinking that goes into your paper is encapsulated in these superficially simple sentences. But there's a lot of volume and depth to the questions if you actually answer them at length. Richard asks, is the denotation of 2 lovers arguable? Well, the denotation aspect of it is not so much arguable, right? That's the one we agree upon, 2 lovers, 2 people who love each other. Whereas the connotation is what it connotes. What does that mean, lover? Does that mean that they're married, they're unmarried? Does that mean they're paramours? Does that mean it's an extramarital thing? Does that mean that they're actually attached in some way, they've ever met? So the connotative aspects of it are something we can consider. But the denotative are more to the point, and we agree upon those. We go to the dictionary and it says a lover is one who loves, and there are 2 of them. So Lindsay, you ask, is it better to use one or the other, denotation versus connotation? You start with denotation. What does that word mean, right? Then you build towards connotation. So you can't just establish a connotation before you skip over that idea of let's agree upon, let's find some sort of stasis here. This is the thing we agree on. A lover is this. Based upon this definition, I'm going to argue this connotation is also present. So you want to start from the factual and build out towards your limb that you're going out on, as it were. So if you're watching this at home comfortably somewhere or Starbucks, feel free to keep answering these questions on the artifact-based practice slide. And that's what you want to start with for your project and revising it for content, thinking, do my questions get answered in my paper, or have I overlooked something and making that clear to my reader? Otherwise, you want to fill out the post-conference, or sorry, the post-workshop exit ticket in the workshops folder.